Hi guys, and welcome to my tutorial video on making a chocolate orange bar gateau. Now what I've prepared already here you'll see is a chocolate Swiss roll sponge. If you would like to watch a video on how to make the chocolate Swiss roll sponge, then if you click on the video which should pop up on the top right hand corner of your screen just now, it is a basic skills video that talks you through how to make a Swiss roll sponge. So if you need to watch that first, please feel free to do that. So I've already made my chocolate Swiss roll sponge. Now for this particular bar gateau, we need to cut this Swiss roll sponge into 3 equal pieces. So I'm being very precise today. I've got my ruler out, and this is pretty much exactly 25 centimetres. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 1 centimetre off the end to make it 24 centimetres. So I've just marked it there, and I'm going to use a bread knife to cut it there. And what that means is that, as you know, 24 divided by 3 is 8. So that means I can cut it into 3 equal 8 centimetre pieces. So I've now got a 24 centimetre sponge, and that means I can cut it into 3 equal 8 centimetre pieces. It doesn't matter if yours isn't 24, you just want to get it to a number where you can evenly divide it into 3 pieces. So I'm using my bread knife, just gently cut through, like so, and the same here where I've marked it. And that hopefully means that this will improve the appearance of our gateau if we measure this bit out really accurately. Then, the next step for me, it says to skin and segment the orange. Now if I just move things around a little bit, you will see that I have already skinned and segmented my orange. And again, I've made a little basic skills video on how to skin and segment an orange. So if you would like to watch that to help you with this process, please click on the link on the top right hand corner of your screen just now to watch a video on segmenting an orange. What I do still need to do though, is it tells me to chop the segments into 1 centimetre pieces and pat dry. So I'm going to get my chopping board, and I'm going to pop a damp paper towel underneath my chopping board just to hold it nice and steady. And I'm going to move this cake a bit further back out of the way. Damp paper towel to hold my chopping board steady. Chopping board goes down. Press that down firmly. And then I'm going to do my orange segments. Now I'm going to leave my 4 favourite segments for a decoration for the top. So I'm going to pick out the ones that I think are really nice and neat. I think maybe these ones. And then the rest of them I can dice up into my 1 centimetre pieces. So the rest of them can go on the chopping board. These ones I am keeping for decoration. So take each segment and you just want to cut it into nice small pieces. So I'm cutting one way and then dicing across the other way. So I've got nice small pieces of orange. And this is going to get mixed through some cream and form the filling for our gateau. Okay, and once you have diced all of your orange, what I'm going to do now is get myself a paper towel, or a couple of paper towels in fact, and I'm going to just pat them dry in between 2 paper towels. So we'll pick this up we'll get rid of this damp paper towel. And I'm just going to pop the oranges onto a paper towel. And we just want to remove a little bit of the excess juice from the oranges. So another paper towel on top, and just very gently, you don't want to squeeze the oranges, you're just very, very gently patting them dry to remove the excess juice from the outside. And you can just leave them like that inside the paper towels for now. Okay, our next step is to whisk the cream. So I am going to get my electric whisk and get that plugged in, and I'm going to whip up this cream until it is a piping consistency. So plug this in. I'm just going to whisk it in the measuring jug, okay? So put it on. Don't put your whisk on too high for cream. Remember that over whipping cream is dangerous. It can end up looking like scrambled eggs and not very pleasant. So you don't want to put this right up to a high setting on your whisk. Keep it nice and low so you can keep an eye on it. Okay, and you just want to take it until it is thickened and it's got these creases in it that you can see. So it should be a nice piping consistency, and you can see how it looks on the whisks there. That is what you're looking for in terms of whipping your cream. Don't be tempted to keep whisking. You will over whisk it and your cream will end up looking like scrambled eggs. So don't be tempted to do that. So my cream is whipped and ready to go. The next thing that I need to do, it says fold the chopped orange into half of the whipped cream. So that means I'm going to have to split my whipped cream in half. And it tells me to fold the chopped orange into half of the whipped cream. So I'm going to get my chopped up orange that's been just drying in the paper towel there, and I'm going to put that into one of the bowls of cream. I'm then going to fold that in. So remember, for your folding, I'll just use the teaspoon to fold it in. Remember, when you're folding, it's gentle mixing. So we go round the side of the bowl and cut through the middle, or we do a little bit of a figure eight motion. Whoops, dropped a bit of orange there. So just the main thing here is to make sure that you're being nice and gentle with your mixing. You don't want to break up the orange pieces too much. You want them to kind of hold their shape. So just nice and gentle. Make sure that is well combined through. And that orange cream we're going to use to sandwich the sponges together to form our bar gateau. So the next step then is to assemble our bar gateau. The remaining cream here, that is going to be used for decoration later, so we can forget about that for just now. So I'm going to get my pieces of bar gateau and I am going to start sandwiching them together. I'm going to do this onto a chopping board. So I'm going to take my first piece of chocolate Swiss roll sponge. So this is going to form the bottom. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take about half of this cream and I'm going to put it into the middle. And I'm going to start pressing it down. I've got a palette knife here, which is ideal for this kind of thing, but you can use a normal cutlery knife if you don't have access to a palette knife. So don't worry too much about that. And I'm just pressing this down and spreading it so that it is evenly covering the sponge. The pieces of orange make this a little bit trickier, so just be patient. You will get there. Okay. And once you have spread that fairly evenly in the middle of your first sponge, you are then going to put another of your sponges on top, like so. And you want to sit that so it's nice and even on top of your other sponge. Then we're going to put the other half of the orange cream mixture on top of there. And again, we're going to spread that out. Okay, and once that's spread fairly evenly on your second sponge, you're then going to put the final sponge on top. I think it's probably best to have the sugared side on the top. So you've got the sugar side facing up from your paper. And I just want to try and line that up as evenly as I can and just press that down slightly so it's all sticking together. So I'm just going to pop a couple of dishes out of the way and get rid of this paper, and then I will show you the next step. Okay guys, so the next step on the recipe is to very gently heat 100 ml of cream in a pan until small bubbles appear around the edge. So on a low heat, you're not melting. On a low heat, you are heating the cream until it's just starting to bubble around the sides. So you don't want it boiling, just tiny little bubbles appearing around the side. As soon as you've got that, you're going to take your cream off the heat and you're going to pour it on top of your 100 grams of chocolate, which I have just divided up into its little squares. So I have just heated up my cream and I'm going to pour all of that heated up cream in with my chocolate. And I'm just going to pop this pot out the way, and then I'm going to stir using my spatula until the hot cream melts the chocolate and we end up with a chocolate ganache. So if you've ever heard people talking about a chocolate ganache before and you weren't sure what it was, basically this is a really simple method for making a chocolate ganache. You heat up some cream until it's almost boiling and you pour it over chocolate. So I'm using dark chocolate here. You could use a different type of chocolate if you wish, but I always think dark chocolate goes well with orange. So as I say, heated up 100 ml of cream on a low heat gently until it's just about bubbling. I've broken my chocolate up into small pieces, put it into a glass bowl, and then I've added the warm cream to the chocolate and it's just very slowly melting. This process will take a while and you might feel like it's never going to happen and your chocolate is never going to melt, but I promise you that it will. You just need to keep mixing and keep the faith, and this is going to make us a beautiful shiny chocolate ganache. It is really important that you break the chocolate up into the smallest pieces that it will go into, because if you were to leave the chocolate whole, it would take a lot more work to melt it. Okay, and there we have it, a lovely smooth chocolate ganache. We're going to let that cool just slightly to a consistency where we're able to spread it with a palette knife onto our cake. So I'm just going to move that out the way and let that cool down. In the meantime, I'm going to get my decorations ready. So I've got myself here, got my measuring jug back, cleaned, and I've got myself a piping bag with a star nozzle. What I'm going to do is open that up nice and wide, and I'm using the measuring jug to help hold the piping bag in place so that I can fill it up with the cream without making a mess. So I've got my leftover cream from earlier and I'm just going to scoop that into the piping bag. And you can just scrape your spoon along the side of the piping bag to get all of that in. Lift, unravel your piping bag. And then we are going to squeeze the cream down towards the nozzle, and we're going to twist, and there we have cream ready to pipe on top as a decoration. I'm going to store that in the fridge in the meantime to keep it nice and fresh, and I'll show you my other decorations. So the other decorations that I have here are my 4 orange segments that I retained from earlier. I'm going to use them to decorate the top, and I've also got some grated chocolate as well to just sprinkle on the top of my gateau also. Okay guys, so hopefully you can see that my ganache has cooled and it's thickened quite a lot now. So this should be okay for a spreading consistency for me. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring my sponge back towards the front and just make some space for myself here. I've got my palette knife again, and I'm going to take a little bit, and just scrape this off the spatula, a little bit of ganache at a time. And I'm going to start by covering the sides. Make sure, see, I'm only using a very small amount of ganache at a time. Don't put too much on or it'll just run off. So make sure you're just using a small amount at a time, and I'm just applying it to the side of the sponge and spreading it across. Like so. And don't worry if you don't get it perfect the first time you go round, because you can always go back round and fix any issues. So I think I'm going to move on now to just trying to get a good bit of ganache on the top of the sponge. So I'm going to use my spatula and just get a nice big scoop of ganache on the top. And I'm going to spread that out, and then I'm going to go around and try and perfect the sides a wee bit more. Don't worry too much if some of it starts to run down the sides a little bit, because we can just smooth that in as we go back round the sides and just check on them. And we'll just smooth that over. Just check the other side. Okay, and then we've got the rest of the ganache just to do a bit of touching up of any areas that don't look quite so nice and neat and tidy. So get a little bit on your palette knife and just reapply some more to any areas that haven't been fully covered. The corners are a little bit troublesome. Just make sure you've got plenty of ganache to cover them. Okay, and I think that is fairly good. I'm quite happy with that. Okay, so I'm going to leave the ganache there, and I'm going to start to decorate the top. Now, because the ganache has already cooled down quite a bit, I can just pipe straight away. And what I'd like to do is pipe to show 4 portions. So I'm going to pipe 4 nice swirls of cream on top. So I'm going to just try and get this even. And then I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of this grated chocolate on top. I don't think we want too much of this. I think less is probably more when it comes to this. So just a light but even dusting of grated chocolate on top of your orange bar gateau. Now, I'm not going to transfer this onto a plate just now because the ganache is still not fully set, so it's still a little bit runny, so I don't want to risk trying to lift this onto a plate just now, but I will pop a photo up at the end of the video of this presented nicely on a plate.